Welcome back to the channel. Today's date is Monday, December 11th, 2023, and last night we sat back and enjoyed episode 3 of the Sister Wives Tell-All. This episode took a serious focus on the likes of Christine and Meri. Janelle was right in the middle of them as they delved into the dynamics of where they all stand with Robyn. And to be quite honest, I am starting to understand why this tell-all was broken up into 4 different episodes. The first was chock full of the thoughts and feelings of Janelle. The second was largely built around Meri. The third, definitely focused on Robyn. It's almost as if the next installment might focus on Christine. This episode included a lot of information. There was more information on Kody and Robyn's relationship, but also some telling interactions among the sister wives. Among the biggest moments of this episode was the new information on the infamous family text messages. You remember the one, right? The group messages that led to so much tension and confusion? However, the most shocking element of this story is probably when Meri finally opened up about this catfishing scandal, and in reality accused Robyn of being complicit. For years, fans wondered in hushed tones whether Robyn had much more to do with this mess than we ever let on. From what we learned in this episode, it doesn't appear so far-fetched anymore. According to Meri, a friend of Robyn got involved in the matter. That friend served as an intermediary, communicating with the catfish indirectly. Robyn, however, was not communicating with the catfish directly. Rather, that communication was taking place through a friend. Although they did not mention the name of the friend on the show, from the sources it can be seen that they are referring to Kendra. Meri made it clear what Kendra's position was in the relationship, and that sparked an obvious disagreement between Meri and Robyn about how and why things happened the way they did. You could sense the old tensions simmering to the surface. It even reinforced the observation that many have had for a long time, that the dynamic between the women never worked the way it did under the new wife. There's always this feeling of the 3 original wives never quite connecting with Robyn. Robyn and Meri may have looked connected at times, but even that relationship looks strained and perhaps not so real. It has become pretty obvious that Christine and Janelle simply never connected with Robyn on the same wavelength as their sister wives. This has been due in part to actions on Robyn's part, as well as actions on Kody's part. And of course, the obvious elephant in the room that simply can't be ignored is sharing the same man. Let's face it, it is certainly difficult to establish and maintain a true friendship when you also find yourself in competition with that same person for romance. Before we continue with the video, let me do my housekeeping real quick. So if you're enjoying this analysis, be sure to hit the like button down below to help me spread the word about this amazing community. Additionally, if you're brand new to my channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Also, click the notification button. Now I will get into it. Right at the beginning of this video, I showed you an excerpt from the tell-all where Christine talked about the personality test that she and the sister wives took. According to Christine, all of them had a seat and completed the test and then discussed the outcomes afterward.
However, it appears that this led to some hurt feelings, notably Robyn's. It seems she was not happy about what the test said about her personality. Here's where things start to feel a little off. Christine remembers the test, Meri remembers the test, Janelle remembers the test. But Robyn? She says she didn't remember taking any test. Wait, now she remembers. And later on, she will refer back to a statement Christine made during a conversation about the test, saying that Christine was being dramatic because of what happened when Robyn got upset. Therefore, which is it? It is also rather difficult to remember an incident when you will draw from it in detail later on. To many watching at home, it seemed as if Robyn was not completely truthful, and as per usual, we can only question why. Does she care so much about public opinion? Is she so comfortable distorting the facts as to make them come naturally? Or is something completely different at play? Only time will tell. Meri chimes in, adding that the actual test itself wasn't all that memorable, although she could say that she more or less agreed with the outcome. As some of you pointed out, it seemed as though they might have given the girls an Enneagram test from the way Meri spoke of being a given type, such as 2 or 3. On her own part, Janelle likewise indicated that she in principle concurred in the results emanating from the test. For the most part, Janelle felt as if she agreed with her personality type. However, when it came to Robyn, everything became confusing, very confusing. Robyn either doesn't remember the test or the argument about the test between her and Christine, or she claims that she never even took the test. Yet this is supposedly one of the sore spots within the relationship, based upon how the others have described it. Robyn continued, anyway, as she explained it, she never actually did the test. If there was a type of personality that was hers, she thought that maybe another person, maybe even Christine, was the one that did the test for her. And if that's true, then there would be no point to it. If that's true, then she wouldn't actually know Robyn or even bother to try to understand Robyn's personality, which was Robyn's interpretation of what was being said. Well, first of all, this whole conversation took place during a segment that never aired. And let's be honest, there are plenty of things that have happened between this family and each other that never got aired. The interesting thing, though, is how fast the narrative about Robyn seems to be changing. First, she doesn't remember the test for personality. Then she doesn't remember any drama between her and Christine about the test. Then she claims she never took the test. Then she proposes that maybe Christine gave her answers for the test. And finally, almost as an afterthought, that maybe she did take the test. What is true about these two versions? Even Suki, the host, appeared startled by Robyn's assertion that she had not even been given the test. From the description provided by the other wives, it certainly appeared as if all of the girls had been given the test simultaneously. And now we hear that Christine actually answered the questions for Robyn and came up with results that aren't really her. What likely happened behind the scenes? Maybe we will never have a clear understanding. One thing for sure is that this situation brought another element of tension, of mistrust, specifically between Robyn, Christine, but also among all of the characters, into their world.
And it gives you the feeling that all of this, all the conflict, all the contradictions, haven't come out of nowhere. They've been building for a long time. Robyn definitely wasn't recalling things conveniently, or she was pretending not to know, which is something that audiences have also observed she likes to play dumb at whenever she's been asked to defend her own actions. It's around here that many fans have had difficulty relating to Robyn. What usually happens, he continues, is a point gets raised, something like, Robyn and I had a disagreement about this, and Robyn jumps in and says, that never happened, or we didn't have a disagreement. Rather than dealing with the point, she focuses on the phrasing of it, the word she's using, the specificity. This, to a lot of people, sounds a little bit gaslighting. The experience feels like this. No, we were not fighting about a personality test. That never happened. You do not know what you are talking about. What happened instead was that it would be much simpler and more relatable if she just said, yes, we disagreed. It was silly, emotions ran high, and it happened. She never appears to be ready to do that. The fact is, admitting the mistake isn't so difficult, or so it would seem. What do I know? This is just the beginning of much larger and more complex issues, including the relationships in which they trust Robyn. The ladies lack trust in Robyn, and this is exactly why Meri and Christine decide they no longer want any sort of relationship with her. Looking at the matter from Meri's side, a significant amount of the damage is traced back to the catfish scenario. According to Meri, during that period, a friend of Robyn's entered the picture, but instead of providing a solution, things worsened for Meri. This is an aspect that many fans have long suspected. What is important to note about this particular aspect is that it is the first time that Meri has spoken about it publicly. As she continues to explain, during the catfishing experience, Robyn had a friend who was secretly involved in the incidents that were unfolding. As it turns out, it was this friend who was feeding her the information, causing all those problems, and it had a negative impact on her and her husband Kody. From what Meri has described, this has not only been a case of innocent miscommunication, it has occurred when something has happened, because of which a difficult situation has become even more painful, and this has not been something that Meri has forgotten. Meri continued to explain, people thought I was having an affair, and then Robyn would come to me and want to talk to me about it, and I was left going, Robyn, I have never met this person. I do not know what you were talking about. Eventually I backed away, and that's when the trust was lost between Robyn and I. It was a big problem. Another fascinating aspect of the whole situation is the additional information that can be gleaned from the personality type that Christine mentioned with regards to Robyn. In that test, Robyn relates with people in trauma. She relates with people in trauma either by discussing traumatic events, sharing personal struggles, or advising people to reveal their personal struggles. On the first look, it seems as though she relates with people in an extremely caring way. And in this situation in particular, it appears to have exacerbated an already fragile situation for Meri.
If you recall this era, Robyn's best friend Kendra was going to these tabloids, giving them information that this relationship was true, that Meri was engaged in a physical affair, that Sam was not a construct. We know that Sam was a construct, but concurrently, this information that Kendra was giving, that information was being given to both Kody and Robyn. Here's the question that a lot of fans are asking. Why would Kendra be involved in all of this anyway, unless Robyn wanted her to be? Why would Kendra get involved in another catfishing scandal when it doesn't even affect her? How would Robyn hear about third-hand information about what Meri is exactly doing? More important, why would Robyn care about any of the activity of Meri's if it's not being relayed to Kody? There are some possibilities. Robyn could have been frightened that Meri was moving away. Within these kinds of families, this kind of fear has led some people to act territorial. Another thought, she could also have been acting as a representative for Kody. This means she was more or less his eyes and ears. This was possibly due to loyalty, favor, or gathering intelligence. Because in a culture of this type, information is power, and all too often it's the women who are left wandering through these minefields, bearing the weight of the decisions they never asked for. All this is indicative of some sort of maladaptive behavior, which is what people do to curry favor, gain and keep their position, and remain in good standing. Perhaps this was all about putting Meri in a bad light, which already had its relationship with Kody in tatters to begin with. Nevertheless,
There is just something so strange about this whole thing. Whether it's because of Robyn or because it's what Kody wanted, the outcome was the same. Kendra got brought in, and this has caused a lot of distrust for Meri. But Meri has said this has led to her not trusting Robyn at all. Kody thinks Meri is having a physical affair, which Meri has denied. And here comes the kicker. It was actually Robyn who encouraged or allowed a relationship with Kendall in the first place. Robyn's response, on the other hand, raises further questions. Robyn asserted that someone was trying to convince her that something was wrong. According to Robyn, she went on to tell that individual, "I don't believe you unless you have proof, and I don't want you to talk to me about it anymore." I thought to myself that there was no problem in the relationship and that Meri was just in this awkward, scared place and had nowhere to turn and was uncomfortable in giving anybody access to her because it was because of what she was going through, not because of what I was doing. Robyn then revealed that she told Meri all that was being told to her. This was despite being told that it might affect her relationship with her husband, Chris. This was revealed by Robyn, who said, However, this is the thing. Robyn's story does not match Meri's in the slightest. Meri also believes Kendra was actively telling Kody as well as Robyn of an actual physical relationship between Meri and Catfish. She also asserts Kendra used those conversations as an avenue to convince them Meri was planning to walk away. Kody could not have known this information were it not for Kendra. When Meri finally understood that Robyn had brought her own friend into the dynamic and that this friend was leaking information to both Robyn and Kody, this blew whatever trust was left. To have someone she loved and trusted treat her this way was not only humiliating, but it added to the pain she was feeling.
And if the truth be told, it's even difficult to blame her. All that transpired didn't only affect relationships, but also wound them further, since the healing process had barely even commenced. The whole situation became just pure tabloid stuff. Is Sam real? Isn't he real? One day Kendra was claiming he was real, and the next day she was claiming something different. But the truth of the matter is now obvious. Sam was never real. Even so, at least they didn't know that at the time. Because of all this, I had an interesting conversation with someone who actually comes from a polygamist community, namely a relative of Christine Brown's. I wanted to learn why the prevalence of dishonesty is such a question in these circumstances. Why this need to insert oneself into other people's business? Why lie to cover one's tracks? Why deny any involvement? Why shirk accountability even for trivial matters that just aren't important? The cousin's perspective opened my eyes. She's a plural wife herself, she said. She said this: she thinks Robyn wants to be perceived exactly as she portrays herself. If she doesn't come off so humble, so accepting, so good, that'll reflect poorly on her, particularly with Kody. Kody's perception of her is more important than all else. Regarding the spy work and gathering of information, the cousin supposes it is all about staying on top. A plural marriage is all about information. Information is leverage. Where a woman has the ability to bring down another woman, it is less likely that she will be held up to scrutiny regarding her shortcomings. Even though Robyn may have the appearance of having it all, the appearance of that is a battle every day to retain. If Robyn is useful to Kody, if Kody sees Robyn as a source of support, as a source who is valuable, who is committed, who is dedicated to the family, then Robyn's position will continue to be safe. In this regard, yes, a lying game could absolutely become an option. Wives may be lying in regard to their status in an attempt to avoid blame and retain their status as the preferred or top wife. This is exactly what Robyn had achieved, and achieved rather recently, and this could be what pushed her over into doing whatever it took to retain this status. This translates to, now this means lying to save face, lying to come across as humble, lying to come across as impeccable, and lying because she felt if others, particularly Kody, saw her the way she wanted to be seen, then her position within the family would be unshakable. Like that. And in many ways, yes, it does seem like a performance, playing a role in order to live. Because in that kind of system, if you end up at the bottom, the stakes are high. You don't get anything. You don't get funds, you don't get anything, your children will miss out. Their father won't be around. And if the parent wants a secure life for himself and for his offspring, he will do what he thinks he has to do. If you want the dad to be there, if you want the access to money and resources, and let's remind ourselves that Robyn has been very public about her spending issues, and to be in good standing with Kody, it becomes everything. As this woman reported, this type of behavior is actually quite common in that culture. If you don't play the game, you'll be at the bottom in no time. So Robyn, in her opinion, is playing the game. Robyn tries to be flawless, perfect, and always useful to Kody. Robyn, on the other hand, poses before the public as humble, selfless, and always doing the right thing for the family, which she usually does. But behind the scenes, she causes chaos for the others.
But as uncomfortable as it is to admit, this is considered top wife strategy. It's really sad, but it makes a lot of sense. Another bizarre occurrence also came up at the tell-all episode when they addressed the legendary text message incident. Robyn, again, appeared as if she had access to the latest information, which ultimately serves her interests. Christine pointed this out, noting, "This isn't me being dramatic." And honestly, she had a point. Robyn said she was being told the kids disliked her, or dislike her kids. She was asked who was telling her this. She said, "A person." Period. A person. Not much information there. She said that in a video conference, she had really been making an effort to connect, but when she felt the resistance, she thought, "Why am I even making this effort?" Again, we find the same thing happening. Robyn is being told secondhand about how people feel, as if she were a messenger or a spy, basically, and then she takes this information to inform how she reacts or how she structures her narrative or her place in the family dynamic. And the cycle just keeps on repeating, without ever talking directly with anyone about it, just accepting as fact the information she is being given. And if you think about it, there are only two possibilities. Robyn isn't that close with the majority of the children, so either it's coming from either Kody or Mykelti. So either way, the reason appears to be pretty clear. Mykelti obviously wants a good relationship with Robyn, and maybe exchanging information can be a means of pleasing Robyn. And perhaps as she's able to keep a good relationship with Robyn, maybe she thinks she's staying on Kody's good side as well. If it's Kody, then this could be an even more disturbing issue. This would mean that he's leaking information to Robyn, pitting her and her kids against the other wives and kids. And honestly, given the history we've seen over the years, this shouldn't come as a shock. Either way, Robyn believes she's being told that everyone hates her. When the group doesn't agree with the video call request, she decides that's just more evidence she's not wanted. Robyn makes a huge assumption here. Doing so allows Robyn to distance herself from the rest of the family. Even Janelle admitted, Robyn made some pretty outrageous accusations when everything came crashing down. As Robyn allegedly began her rant, "You've always treated me so horribly," Robyn continued, "I'm so tired of trying," and concluded, "I'm finished work on this." Everyone wondered, wow, just wow. Then things escalated to an even worse level. The kids got involved with phrases such as, "You treated us awfully," to the extent that one of them stated, "We're never going to want families of our own because this experience was so bad." However, the problem is the victim role is effective. Being attacked is a benefit to Robyn because, in all likelihood, she will be perceived by Kody as the innocent party, the damsel in distress, while all the rest will be perceived as aggressors. This in turn ushers in sympathy, which begets loyalty, which in its turn yields power. Needs the help of others in order for her to be saved, and she prides herself on being this perfect, humble, loving individual, cap in hand as if she's doing everything right. Therefore, when the other wives or the kids fail to listen and fall in line with a simple command, such as a video conference, Robyn takes it as evidence that everyone hates her.
For example, when Janelle tells her that it's 9 p.m. on the East Coast, which means it's too late for her, this spirals into something much bigger in Robyn's perspective. She chooses to target this small problem and use it as ammunition, not only for herself, but for Kody as well, that the family is against her. And with the kids adding their opinions in there, probably suggested by Robyn, and the information she has been fed from someone in the family, likely Kody or Mykelti, she feels as though she is being attacked from all angles. Then the saga continues, and the kids complain that the whole experience has been so bad that they don't even want families of their own. The one that is really innocent in this scenario is Robyn's children. It appears, based on the years that have passed, that many of the children have shown their feelings of love and connection between the family. Jendon has said that he misses the children, including the one that passed, Aurora. Some of the boys have even said that they miss the one that passed, Dayton. Isabel loves Brianna and the one that passed, Aurora. However, for Robyn, yet another resource is created through combining their families. She is now in a position where she can make herself feel like a victim in the relationship between Kody and herself, while also portraying the other wives as mean to Kody. She is now the top wife in the family again, as she obtains favor in the new family setup. It's manipulative, it's conniving. And over time, the other wives just got so tired of the games. They started trying to articulate, trying to fight back, or communicate what was going on. And the kids, being influenced by the story that Robyn is telling, started to ridicule and belittle them. This was yet another thing that ganged them all up. Even Meri's kids came to her, telling her they were not feeling emotionally safe about all this. Then Robyn just announced, "Dad and I have decided that our kids are not going to do the gift exchange. We're not going to be a part of this either." Robyn's kids were absolutely devastated. So this whole text message ordeal has shown that there has been so much that has been pent up from the beginning that the two families came together in the first place, Sarah said. In the beginning, there was just so much resentment from Robyn's kids that they felt singled out, to the point where they felt that other kids in the family were telling them that they did not belong there, Sarah continued. These were some of the things that we've witnessed throughout the early seasons. Some of the boys were picking on certain girls, like Peyton and Garrison. Older kids don't always like Robyn's kids, but it was seen that the younger kids got along relatively well.
The girls, for example, all seemed to bond with each other, but nevertheless, integrating the family was no easy feat. Robyn's kids only sought to be accepted, and for many years they did not. Seeing all this, one can't help but feel sorry for the kids. Imagine living this experience, along with going on national TV, all this stress that these kids must have had on their end. Meri also pointed out that some members of the family felt as though this marriage had been thrust upon them. They just didn't have a choice. They had to just go along with it, whether they wanted to or not. It just follows that when things happen under compulsion, resistance follows.
People feel as though they are under obligation to go along with the situation when they don't agree with it. It is a significant factor that it had been some 16 years since the arrival of the new wife in the family, and all this time the system had been upset. Such an adjustment, particularly that which is unilaterally brought about, brings about tensions that exist for several decades. 16 years is a long time for a family to be its own unit. The children had all always grown up around the three wives, including the times when Janelle had stepped back, but even then they were still interacting with each other throughout the day and things like babysitting. Janelle thinks that the manner in which the family managed the incorporation of the different dynamics at the time might have ended up doing their kids more harm. The matter seems to raise concerns for Robyn as well, because she thinks that it might have caused difficulties for her kids as well. Robyn, on the other hand, does not appear to understand or realize the impact her entrance into an already existing familial structure might end up having on her, causing animosity among the members. What is striking, however, is that however a situation is presented to Robyn, it is almost always centered on the idea that her children have been caught in the middle. She says that because she had to communicate with Christine and Janelle about problems that arose, which yes, they did acknowledge, that puts her on equal ground. However, it is obvious that merging a family with pre-existing children was bound to have problems, and she expected all of her children to be accepted without question. But from Janelle's point of view, there is a better explanation for how the kids acted as they did. The kids basically had been told by the adults to accept these new children without really determining how everyone was feeling. "We hurried and kind of put it together without taking everyone's temperature," said one parent, referring to how kids had been instructed simply to sit down and be quiet as their families merged into one family. As a result, the children were not given the opportunity to voice their opinions, share their feelings, or have their concerns addressed. In fact, the failure to be recognized has culminated in the constant creation of tension regarding the value of the voice they bring. All of this caused a lot of animosity in the family, and then if you consider that all of this happened when the show itself premiered, the pressures that come with all of this attention can actually be quite traumatic for children. Children who do not understand the nature of fame can get quite stressed out by all the attention that they receive. On top of this, they're also forced to live up to their best in front of the cameras. Cameras are in their faces all the time, and grown-ups are trying to manage relationships within their families. In fact, they also had to pretend as though everything in their lives is in order, because that is how they would like to be perceived, to look ideal in their lifestyle of polygamy. Yet what was occurring away from the television cameras was anything but lovely. This is what was revealed in front of our television sets. For the new children entering this family, feeling like they are in control is virtually impossible. They can't control their mother, or any adult for that matter. If they are already living with their mother, they can't become receptive to a group of unknown people entering their household. Then consider the relocations, Las Vegas, Arizona, so you can understand the cumulative effect that is taking place here with the trauma, the fame, the polygamy, the family dynamics. The lack of responsibility from Robyn in regards to her part of the problem, let alone the game she plays and tries so hard to preserve her status of top wife, simply adds fuel to the fire. While Kody's antics are a major part of the problem in altering the family, the ongoing fighting and politicking among the wives adds more animosity. It's difficult to recognize the makings of disaster in the union of multiple marriages and the limelight of fame that accompanies celebrities. All this pent-up drama has to implode sooner or later. In the next video, we will explore the relationship between Kody and Robyn and how this continues to affect family dynamics. Next, we will see Kody's relationship with Robyn. It is Kody who has been outspoken in that he likes to punch people in the mouth when they speak negatively about his wife Robyn. It is quite aggressive and rather scary. Throughout all of this, Robyn has gotten herself involved in the drama, especially with the issue of catfishing, where she has gotten way too involved in the problem rather than acting as a solution. I would love to hear your opinions about the lot regarding the position that you think Robyn has within the family dynamic, and your opinion regarding Kody's loyalty. Please post your opinions in the comments below. Bye for now.